smells like fire in here. All right, so we got a little green one up and running, and Jacob's been riding that for Christmas. The CRF 125 is Caleb's new Christmas toy. That's a ton of fun. So now we're gonna turn our attention to the original Coolster. Slightly different model. This one's got the bigger 16-inch tires versus those 14-inch. And this one, we believe, might have been oil starved. Because it gets some resistance as we turn over. So we might have pistons, or maybe we have a blown starter or failing starter.
We're going to switch it.
So we'll put it up on the bench and take this one apart, because this one will be fun to ride because it's got the bigger tires. Because these little things here,
they work great for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, they're great for a 6-year-old, but that clearance is, there's like 5 fingers of clearance there. All right, let's get it on the bench. All right, so we're hanging some pieces on here so we know where they go. This one has 2 3-prong headlights. So I'm gonna guess, because there's 3 wires here, and I'm not sure that it's a high and low beam.
Yes, it was.
On each of them? Okay.
It was.
So that means we've got a good harness if we're gonna splice in LEDs or anything. You just have LED on or off. And this is, again, our little makeshift key bypass, because we don't have a key for this one. So that's the other headlight.
Yeah, broken sprocket.
You got a broken tooth. Huh, bet that skipped nice. And then we have a 2-wire. Oh, where would that 2-wire go? And this, man, this looks like, oh, there we go. That 2-wire probably is coming off.
That goes over to the coil.
Yeah, over the coils.
That's the starter.
Now, this, where's the stator plug?
Why do I?
Here. Okay, so stator's, so what is this guy? Because this is the kill switch, the safety switch, those 3. All right, so we're gonna take this motor out, and we're going to put this motor in that guy, right?
Yeah, and that motor's coming out because that's got a leaky gasket.
And this one we believe is possibly oil starved.
It was oil starved because when the clutch went, all the parts blocked the filter.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna play with this one, see if we can get this one running happily. All right. All right, what do we got? So we got, yeah, there's metal shavings.
But I think they're
all wow.
So I think the starter was eating itself.
So the symptom with this one, Caleb was out riding in the woods, and it stalled or it died or something, and then it just wouldn't start from there. You'd hit the starter, and you just kind of get a whoop whoomp, like almost a full turnover, and then that was it. This wiring harness is all the way through the case down into here, so it's not going to unplug there. That just runs through. That's just rubber grommet. So we'll snip here, and it'll unplug here. This is your stator harness, and I can't remember actually the mapping for all of each of these. But yeah, snip that, unplug it, and snip that one, unplug it there. That's just a waterproof grommet. Nope, that's also, yeah, I don't think that's a plug. Or at least if it is a plug, I've never unplugged them. Where does that run? Yeah, because that one should just bolt onto the, onto the solenoid. So on this Tao Tao, interestingly, behind this hub, which is just pipe that comes with them, it just rattles like all heck when you're riding. But this is here because these hubs will just slide all the way down the axle. So we're going to see if we can figure out why. It might be neat if we can weld something there so you can get all this rattle out. It helps to keep the grass from getting all wrapped up on your axle. But this is interesting because I haven't seen a lot of these that's literally the spacer, because you can't get these wheels really any tighter. Yeah, because that,
I think they need new hubs. Needs 4 hub.
Or a new piece of pipe. Actually, we cut these pipe out of somewhere in the barn anyway. Yeah. 1-inch electrical conduit holding these tires on. Man, that's a lot of rattle. All right, I'm gonna take that off and take a look at that.
Metal shavings behind the sprocket for the starter.
Wow.
No bueno.
All right, here's what I was talking about on this one. On this guy, the hub.
Are those bearings even any good?
Oh. I mean, this hub, the splines are starting to look like shark fins. So, I mean, that's all spline play. I'm sure it'll be fine. But without this piece of electrical conduit, here's what happens. So you're just, and then you just, your rear wheels are whee. So, you know how we can get away with this easy though?
Well, that's what
just some big gobs of weld. What we'll do is I'll bring the, you know what though? I was thinking if I brought the welder and put some gobs there, then you wouldn't need that piece of pipe. However, then you can't get any of this off.
Nope.
So it's just really just a.
You need a Polaris.
It's just a cheap design.
You need a Polaris.
Alright, so here's the third one now. So we got the motor out of the wide stance original Coolster with the 16-inch tires. And that motor, we believe, just needs the starter. It's going to go on this one. This one is leaking oil out around a starter seal.
It's actually
Or not starter seal.
Crankshaft.
Stator seal. Yeah.
It's coming from around the crankshaft, which is bad.
Do it like that. All right, so there we go. Oil leaking the stator. So this motor, we know we've got a bad seal somewhere behind the stator. So we're gonna fix that as well. So take this motor out. This chain, so much cleaner. This one doesn't have all the metal everywhere inside the stator. The oil's kept things nice and lubricated. So, all right, let's get the chain off and then we'll get some of the mounts off and try and pull this thing out. Look at the frame for the feet on this guy. This is much beefier than some of these other ones. See how this guy's got all this extra build up. And then this one's got that older style, just that one rod built up. But this one goes all the way across the frame for stability versus just welding into the side. It's got these little gussets. So it's like every factory does it a little different.
Thinking.
So what size flywheel puller was it?
Oh.
But it works on all of them, so it's the same size for all of these.
It works so far, yeah.
Yeah, so pulled that one. And we think that's the gasket that's leaking.
Well, that's the problem. Can't get to this. See, the whole thing was this gasket was in here. I already replaced it.
So that was a brown gasket. Yeah. So we got a new rubber gasket on that guy.
And I put that in there.
What was behind it? Anything? Looks like a bearing or just a big thick washer.
It's the holes in there allow the oil to get so it spins freely. This was completely dry. So I kind of messed up with this one. Like I was feeling around, but this is completely dry around here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really the gasket or if it was this gasket. But in that gasket kit, I don't have a gasket that size. That's the biggest one I have. Or the next biggest one I have.
Oh, you're thinking, should there have been a second gasket? Is that what you're wondering?
So, no, what I'm thinking is when this goes, I don't know exactly how this works, but when this slides on there, this slides inside that gasket and presses it out. And I think, because there's oil around this, but the back of this was dry.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the front. And it was all, so it, the other thing was there's oil coming from, I wiped it all up, so, and I tightened these three. Just, I'm kind of curious, I wonder if this gasket is toast also. But I don't have that gasket.
Yeah, that one would just be leaking oil onto the ground, not into the stator case.
Right. So, but if you look under there, the bottom of that has oil.
I see that.
So if that's where it's coming from, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, so your point is that the oil coming there versus here.
And that was dry,
Yeah.
but this one was wet.
Yeah. So, well, we'd learn, right? We put it back together, we run if there's still oil. Probably pretty confident it's not leaking around the shaft, but
Yeah,
behind this plate.
And I don't know if there's any way to fix that.
Because what's on the other side of that plate? Your
timing chain
Uh-huh.
and all that in there. So you got to pull these screws off, but you got to separate this half, take all this off, take these two halves off to get into that, and this will come off also. And so
Parts motor. All right, so
we'll put it all back together and see if it leaks. And if it leaks, then we're back at square one, and we got to take the engine out.
all right.
But this is the old, that's the gasket that came out. It doesn't look terrible. I can't find anything.
Any nicks or anything? There's a spring down in there.
There is a spring, and there's a spring in this one too.
Interesting.
But this one was all wet, and that one was all dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see.
All right, we'll put it back together and go for a rip. And what I want to know is, what model is this guy? Engine family, 11 ATA, permeation family. This is a 2015.
Model ATA 110D.
Oh, there it is. ATA 110D from Tao Tao in 2015. Yeah, so I can see it says Coolster 3050B. So Coolster 3050B. And then the little green guy is a Tao Tao.
No, that's a Coolster.
Also a Coolster 3050C. The B gets the bigger stance. Alright, so what have we done in here now? Let's see. We took the stator cover off. We used the flywheel puller, pulled the flywheel, replaced the gasket because there was an oil leak behind here, which we believe either is coming around the shaft behind the fly that holds the flywheel, or that other plate behind there.
We're hoping it's the other one.
And we're hoping so. Have rebuilt that. So now the carb's back on, stator's plugged back in, grounds are back, chain guard's back on, clips back on the starter gear. Is this the same starter? This is the same starter.
Everything's the same, just new gasket.
So yeah, we were taking this all apart to put in the other motor because we weren't anticipating the flywheel tool coming in time. But the flywheel tool came last night, so we stopped the motor swap, replaced the gaskets, so now we're putting everything back together, tightening everything up. So I guess everything got a good work through, particularly the exhaust over there. Be interesting to see what we can do to lube up the suspension, because it looks like it just sits on rubber grommets, if rubber grommets exist. But I tell you, this utility chassis has got so much more reinforcement with these big gussets and long welds as compared to the shock mounts on this one. So this guy, still a 110cc, but these shock melts, these are ears basically from a cross brace here. So okay, so this has got some meat, not the same meat. And then if we look at the little 3050C, there's nothing supporting in between there. Those are just, those little shock mount ears are welded to that one little spot. Interesting though that they're on the inside of the front of the frame. So this one, the rear axle, the hub can't come off the rear of the spline. So you don't need that 1-inch electrical tubing. Yeah. So this design is better. It's that same hub, same 3-bolt hub, but you don't need that rattle thing that makes everything so loose. So there's a little bit of spline wobble on there, but not bad. Much better design on this one. Also on this one, it looks like factory has this bar, this cross member between the 2 bolts for chain tightening. So some of the other models, they don't have this, so when you tighten the chain and compress, it just bends it in. Yeah, so this one here, the 3050C, these tabs, the whole ears get bent in when you try to put your tension on the chain and an adult gets on, romps on. So we've modified some of these to build our own cross member. This one has cross member from the factory. This is just an all-around better Tao Tao.
They're learning.
Yeah, they're learning. And I can see myself spilling this, which would be a ton of fun to wear. This guy, all right, so we fabricated a cross member on this one because these ears were all bent in. Yeah, that's what you get for adults riding, I guess. All right, ready to give it a try and start here, but it didn't. So let's see. Fuse is good. Closing that up.
Maybe.
Fingers aren't happy. All right, anyway, it's going to be closed. Fuel is on. Off switch, on switch. Key is on. You got the brake?
Both of them.
Yep. All right. We got a toast battery. That's solvable. So this little piece of strapping wraps around the battery, keeps the battery from rattling around. Because these little Mighty Max batteries have a little extra play in here. But we're going to set it in, probably cushion it a little bit with a rag so it doesn't just rattle itself out.
Oh, you know.
See, now you lost it.
Now we had 2 or 3. Now we have 2.
Here we go again.
I'm holding the tires. Now I get scared. That's pretty. We're still. Oh, it's smoking!
The exhaust burning off some. All right, we'll tune that outside because it does smell really nice. That means we got to lift it down, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, you're dripping some oil. Nope, it's still in there.
What's in there?
No, we're changing the motor.
It's still in the stator, you're saying?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
It's coming out.
What do you see? Right around the stator gasket?
Yep. I can't. It was coming out right where my finger is. Right here.
All right. So when we open up that stator, she's probably still full of goodies.
Still full of oil.
Alright, so now we swapped the gasket, but it wasn't the gasket we thought. Still leaking oil back behind that stator somewhere. So we are going to go back to what we started with, swapping the motor out for another motor, a known good motor, and then we'll tear into this one, see if we can get the right gaskets, everything we need. So now the question is going to be, can we take the motor out without taking the whole body off, because that would take some time, and kind of wondering how fast we can do a motor swap. I'm thinking 30 minutes we can get the motor out. And maybe if we're fast, 30 minutes, get another one in. All right, game time?
Yep, game time. Does that make sense?
I'm going to get my tools out for this engine yank race. 30-minute timer.
30-minute timer. We'll see if we can yank it out in 30 minutes.
We got our tools lined up. We got our 8 mils, our 10 mils. We need a 13 mil and a 12 mil for the exhaust bolt up top. 8 mils around the stator.
10 mil on the exhaust over here, or
10 mil on the carb behind the safety cover, behind this 8 mil, 2 10 mils for the 14 tooth sprocket. And then the motor mounts, 10 mil, 10 mil, and
a 12 bolt on this side. Are they both 10? Both side 10.
I don't know if they're both side 10. So I think we've got all the tools handy, and then the hope is we'll take the motor out this side.
I'm trying to disconnect the battery. Or pull the fuse. Then we can't get electrocuted anyways, right?
Bah.
Okay.
Set us a 30-minute timer. And we're going to see if we can pull a motor in 30 minutes. You know what I am going to do to start, though? I'm turning off the fuel.
Ready, set, go.
Go. So there we go, 1934. So we pulled the motor in 11 minutes. So do you think we can beat that, putting a motor back in?
Is it more complicated to get it in?
Well, probably because it has to run.
So maybe.
Maybe in and running in 45 minutes.
Nah, we can do faster than that.
In and running.
You're burning time.
I say I give you a half hour.
We will be back.
Half hour.
5 minutes. I expect it to be in and running.
Stick the motor in and running in 45. Okay, get our tools ready. We got to do it again here. So we did a motor swap in, what was that? That was a 30-minute countdown. So we did a motor swap in 25 minutes, motor swap out in 11. So, but when we hit the button on the starter, it can't fully. So we really got oil starved. This is a seized head. So,
got a new head. Later.
Time to take a break. We gotta. So now we've put this motor back in. We've realized the head is seized. So we'll take this one out. We'll redo the head, and in 10 minutes, yeah. And we're going to put a bigger head in to get a couple extra cc's out of here. Because hey, why not? We've been tearing these things apart like crazy. So, all right.
We'll try a bigger head.